What's going on YouTube? PokeLife9394 here, coming at you with a team description of a team I've been using online quite a bit recently. I've had a lot of success with the team, and I just wanted to show you guys what it looked like. The core of the team is a pretty standard Rayquaza Kyogre Scizor core. Rayquaza and Kyogre are two of the best combination of mega or of legendary restricted mons in the format. The reason why is because Groudon's very popular, and Rayquaza cancels out the weather effects of Groudon's ability and the Weather Wars with Airlock. So what you can do is you can lead with a Kyogre against a team with Groudon, switch in Rayquaza, and then be able to Water Spout and guaranteed one-shot any Groudon that might switch in. Life Orb is definitely the best item for Rayquaza. It hits a lot harder with the Life Orb than it does without, and because of its relatively aggressive nature, I mean, its defenses are pretty bad for what this format needs in terms of bulk. The Life Orb is really the only, in my opinion, viable option. I wouldn't put a Lumberry on it. I've seen some with that, but that's not that good. The movesets, for the most part, pretty standard. Dragon Ascent and Extreme Speed are pretty common. Overheat, I think, is the best third attacking option on Rayquaza. Reason for that is this team, for example, the Talonflame doesn't have a fire type move. It could, but with Overheat you can take out Scizor, you can take out Ferrothorn, you can take out just different monsters such as those that you wouldn't be able to handle without Overheat. If this were Earth Power, for example, or if this were, I'm trying to think of another, Draco Meteor, you couldn't hit those mons very hard. The moves, the EV spread is actually taken from another guy, Jamie Weber, I think his name is. He used this same spread, and I've had a lot of success with the spread, so I kind of just stuck with it. 4 HP, I mean, the 4, 4, and 4, that is optimal in everything that you don't need, because it gives you an extra point in everything. Whereas, for example, if you look at defense, if I move 1 off defense, I move 4 into attack, my attack stat doesn't go up anymore because of that. So that's why you put the 4 in defense, is because it gives you the most out of your points, as opposed to having 248 attack but not and missing out on a point in defense because you have nothing more in attack. The speed is there to speed tie with other Rayquaza and to just outspeed as many things as possible. Naive nature, because you have 2 physical moves and a special type move. You could run Adamant, or I'm sorry, Jolly, instead of Naive, but Naive is a little bit better because you're not going to survive an Ice Beam from Kyogre. You're not going to survive most Ice type moves. You're just going to die to anyways. So there's no point in having the extra investment in special defense and losing out on damage from Overheat otherwise. So moving on to Kyogre, Blue Orb has to be there in order for it to Primal Evolve. Drizzle's only ability. Water Spout, Scald, Ice Beam, Protect is pretty standard. The reason I chose Scald over like Thunder, for example, is just because Thunder cannot one-shot other Kyogre, so there's little point in having it, and Scald gives you a burden chance, which can prove pretty useful in a lot of situations. I've had a few games where it's like, alright, I'm going to Scald my opponent, see if I can hit a burn, and then possibly stall them out by protecting. You get into those situations from time to time, and there it's really nice to have that option available to you. And like I said, Thunder can't one-shot anything outside of Talonflame, which your Scald can one-shot anyways. So there's no real relevance to having Thunder there. And not to mention, if you Thunder into a possible switch into to Groudon, your Thunder's accuracy drops significantly. The EV spread is a little bit different than most that I've seen. It's a lot bulkier than a lot that I've seen. 108 HP, 68 defense, 4 special defense. This is just, the 4 special defense just gives a little bit extra bulk. Kyogre's already extremely bulky on the special side anyways. 68 special defense, 108 HP, assures that you live, I want to say, a Dragon Ascent from a max attack Adamant Rayquaza. If I remember that's right, that's where that calc came from. 76 special attack plus a modest nature ensures that you one-shot Rayquaza with Delta Stream Up with Ice Beam every time after Life Orb damage. I think is where that calc came from, although I probably should recheck that. And the 252 modest, I see a lot of 252 speed timid nature Kyogres. Without the modest nature, I would have to put more in special attack. I do remember that 2 one-shot Rayquaza every time with an Ice Beam. With Delta Stream up. Without Delta Stream, Rayquaza is just going to immediately die to that stuff. But with the 252 modest, you actually, outside of Trick Room, you outspeed mid-speed Kyogre and mid-speed Groudon when you're playing against the Trick Room teams. But you also can underspeed the 252 timid or Groudons, and mainly Groudon because Kyogre, you don't care about the weather, but you underspeed the Groudon, so you're going to Mega or Primal Evolve second if you both lead with your Primal Evolution, which can be important. I mean, winning the Weather War at the start of the battle is kind of nice. So with Scizor, Lumberry is more of a throw together item. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Lumberry, but I can't run Choice Band because the Swords Dance is kind of necessary for this set, and I'll explain that in a second. The Lumberry just prevents Will-O-Wisp, things like that, from hitting your Scizor. It also helps against Dark Void Smeargle, which is the biggest reason to put this on here. Technician's the obvious ability for every Scizor, I think, ever in existence since the ability came out. Bug Bite lets you hit grass types a little bit harder, and it gives a little bit of additional coverage to Bullet Punch, so that Bullet Punch isn't your only attacking move, plus it's still Technician boosted, and you can steal Citrus Berries from things, which is really kind of funny when it happens. Bullet Punch is the best move for Scizor. It's priority. It gets a Technician boost. It also gets Stab. So the damage output on Bullet Punch is insane with Scizor. And with Scizor against Xerneas, especially when if I think my opponent's going to lead a Xerneas, I often lead Scizor. And my first turn is usually spent Swords Dancing because a +2 Bullet Punch will always knock out a Xerneas, regardless of investment. So if my opponent gets up a Geomancy, it doesn't matter. And they can't switch out because then they're going to lose their Geomancy boost. So, I mean, you get to the mind games where you turn 1 Swords Dance, turn 2 you Protect to stop their Protect, and then turn 3 you Bullet Punch. I mean, that's the best way to take care of Xerneas with the Geomancy with Scizor. And that's why that move is on here, because last format I was not a fan of Swords Dance at all. And then the obligatory Protect. I mean, that's on every mon in this team except Landers, who's choiced. The EV spread is a little bit different than what you usually see. Usually you just see like a 252, 252, and then 4 maybe in special defense or defense. This one is, what does it survive? I want to say it's also a calc to survive a Dragon Scent from Rayquaza. And then the attack investment is just to get the most out of your Technician boosted Bullet Punch. So the set's really, really simple. You didn't put anything in defense, didn't put anything in speed. There's no point putting anything in speed because it's already really slow as it is. It actually helps to not have any speed when you're up against Trick Room teams, which this team can occasionally struggle with depending on how they're designed. And then the defense, there's nothing relevant that's going to change by adding in a bunch of defensive bulk, and by taking out your HP, your special defense, you risk dying to other more relevant attacks. So Talonflame, the typical Talonflame. I mean, there's no surprises with this mon at all. Focus Sash just to live as long as you can. Gale Winds to give priority. Brave Birds and Tailwinds. You have the Brave Bird, the Tailwind. Taunt is a little bit different. You see Flare Blitz a lot in this spot, or you see Quick Guard a lot in this spot. I ran Taunt because I have Quick Guard on Virizion, and I don't have Taunt anywhere else on the team. And against the big 6 teams, I can lead Talonflame Scizor against Smeargle Xerneas, and then as I was explaining with Scizor, Swords Dance with Scizor, and then Taunt the Smeargle with the Talonflame, and Talonflame will still outspeed in a Choice Scarf Smeargle with the speed investment that I have on it. So, and then again Protect, and then there's the EV spread standard 252 attack, Adamant Nature, just to get as much damage out of Brave Bird as possible. You're typically only going to get 1, maybe 2 off anyways, so you just want to get as much out of it as you can. 4 HP is just kind of the leftovers from the speed investment. There was no point adding the 252 Jolly Nature for Talonflame because your Braver and your Tailwind should outspeed almost anything anyways. Landorus, it's just a typical Scarf Landorus. A lot of you who played last format saw this thing all over the place. A lot of you hated it by the end of the format, but it's really, really good. I mean, it gets Intimidate. Choice Scarf means it outspeeds a lot of threats. Rock Slide, Earthquake, Superpower give you a lot of coverage over a lot of different mons. The chance for flinch with Rock Slide is really, really important. And then the Superpower gives you a move that doesn't hit both mons. And then the Explosion in the last spot was, I've seen U-turn a lot in this spot as well. Explosion I just like because I can protect with my own mon and just suicide into something else. And if I know I can't live a hit, and Earthquake and Rock Slide won't KO. And then the EVs, I mean, you're trying to outspeed everything with Choice Scarf. There's no point in investing in the defenses. 252 Jolly Speed just gives you as much leverage as possible. And then 252 Attack just gives you, you want it to be as fast as possible and hit as hard as possible. That's the point of this basic EV spread. Virizion is the one that I originally wanted to play with and wanted to build a team around, and this is the team that I designed. I like Virizion because it's really good against Kangaskhan. It's also really, really good against Kyogre, which are two very popular mods in the format. I'll get to back to the item back in a second. Ability, just that's the only ability for it. Leaf Blade gives you coverage against Kyogre. Close Combat gives you coverage against Kangaskhan as well as Steel types. This actually should be Quick Guard here. That is Quick Guard. And then you have the Protect. The EV spread, 132 HP, 4 defense, 4 special defense. The 4 defense doesn't matter, just to get the extra point out of the EVs. The 4 special defense, 132 HP though, is enough to take 2 hits from Kyogre's Water Spout. Which is really, really important because you're gonna outspeed Kyogre, so you have to be able to hit it, live a hit, and then hit again. 172 attack plus the Expert Belt is enough for close combat to one-shot any non-invested Mega Kangaskhan. And obviously the Expert Belt helps with your damage output against Kyogre with Leaf Blade. Not to mention close combat's also helped a lot against Dialga, which has seen a lot of play recently. It does pretty hefty number to that, and then the 196 speed plus the Jolly Nature is enough to outspeed Jolly Mega Kangaskhan fully invested by 1 point. Jolly Mega Kangaskhan only hits 170 or 167 speed. This gets 168 with the 196 EVs, and that's the point of that spread. So that is the team. If you guys would like to try it out, please feel free. I would encourage you to do so. I've had a lot of fun playing with it. There are a couple of different weaknesses to the team, but overall I think it handles most of the metagame extremely well. If you have any comments, any questions, or any just criticism, please let me know. I would love to improve this team even more than I have. Originally, the Landorus was a Togekiss instead that just wasn't pulling enough weight, and the Landorus was just a better fit. So things like that, just if you've got any other ideas such as those, please let me know. So anyways, that is a team. Like I said, please try it out. Please let me know how it works for you guys. Please also comment, rate, subscribe to our channel, like the video, and that's all. Have a good day, guys.